Discover 9 heartwarming minutes of inspiration that will change your life forever in 2025. In the sleepy town of Maplewood, where the smell of fresh-cut grass mingles with barbecue smoke, one woman's heart beats the loudest. Clara, a single mother of 2, rose at dawn, her tired eyes flickering to the sunlight pouring through the kitchen window. Ethan and Lily, wide-eyed and full of mischief, reminded her of all the hope tied to their little family. Clara balanced the weight of the world on her shoulders, fighting each day to make ends meet at the local diner, all while secretly chasing her dream of becoming a published author. She wanted a story that not only reflected her own struggles, but offered a spark of hope to others. Just when she thought her dreams might take flight, the town buzzed with news that shattered her every hope. Mr. Jenkins, the town's beloved World War II veteran, was facing eviction. The sweet, gruff man who told her children stories of bravery and candy when they were little faced the grim reality of unpaid medical bills. The news twisted Clara's stomach into knots. How could she focus on writing while Mr. Jenkins suffered? Her dreams felt trivial compared to the reality of their neighbor in despair. Among the heartache, a flicker of a miracle ignited when Clara's children, clueless to the turmoil, decided to hold a bake sale to raise money for Mr. Jenkins. Their innocent laughter filled their quaint yard, mixing the sweet smell of cookies and joy a balm for Clara's heavy heart. As the whistle of the kettle bubbled, friends and neighbors poured in, drawn by the tantalizing aroma and the children's boundless excitement. It felt like magic as their little efforts slowly transformed into a town-wide phenomenon. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days passed, the bake sale morphed into a beacon of hope, drawing attention from beyond their little town. Social media influencers shared pictures the children's bright smiles, the colorful decorations, each post unveiling the heart of Maplewood. Neighbors, once divided by small-town gossip and hidden judgments, banished their biases, converging around a common cause that united them all. The streets of Maplewood buzzed with energy. But just as Clara believed their efforts might save Mr. Jenkins, a dark cloud loomed overhead. An unexpected bureaucratic hurdle threatened to crush their dreams. Frustration bubbled within Clara as she faced rejection from authorities who couldn't see the worth in helping an old man like Mr. Jenkins. Confusion enveloped her, and for a moment, despair threatened to swallow her whole. Yet within that darkness, Clara felt the fire of resilience. She knew that standing together for what was right meant pushing against the hurdles life threw at you. As the sun dipped below the horizon one evening, casting a warm glow over Maplewood, Clara gathered the townsfolk in the park. Each voice that spoke shared stories of past struggles, the sacrifices, the kindness hidden within the fabric of their community. With tears in her eyes and strength in her heart, Clara pledged to fight for Mr. Jenkins, wondering if this would be the moment when the heart of the community would hold strong against the coldness of bureaucracy. But just as she prepared to unveil their united plan, a shocking revelation surfaced, leaving Clara breathless, her heart racing, as everything she fought for hung precariously in the balance. Would the truth forge them into a tighter family, or would it drive them apart? As Clara stood before her gathered friends and neighbors, a quiet hush fell over the park. She could feel the weight of their gazes, filled with a blend of hope and uncertainty. Her heart pounded in her chest, laced with the bittersweet taste of fear and determination. Just moments before, she had learned that Mr. Jenkins wasn't just facing eviction. The very house he called home had been in jeopardy for months, and the clock was ticking down on his final chance to save it. How can this happen? Someone whispered from the crowd. Clara recognized the voice. It belonged to Mrs. Wilkins, an elderly lady who used to sit with Mr. Jenkins at the diner. The magic of their bake sale began to feel fleeting against the harshness of reality. Clara took a deep breath, determined to expose the truth and rally her community's spirit. He needs us. We can't let them take his home, Clara urged, her voice steady as she locked eyes with the townsfolk. We need to show them that Mr. Jenkins is not just a name on a document. He is a hero. He fought for our freedoms. He has shared laughter, wisdom, and love with us. We owe it to him to fight back. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Clara could see the fire igniting behind their eyes. They were no longer just neighbors. They were warriors united under a common cause. But before she could harness that energy, a newcomer stepped forward. Tall and imposing, it was Sheriff Thompson, the man who was supposed to protect their town. "There's nothing we can do," he said solemnly, shaking his head. "The law is the law, and Mr. Jenkins is behind on payments. The sale will proceed." Clara's heart sank. It felt as though a cold wave had washed over her hopes. How could a man who had given so much to Maplewood be stripped of everything he loved? "Sheriff, isn't there a way to approach this? Maybe a fundraiser? We can get the community involved." The sheriff's piercing gaze softened momentarily. "It's complicated, Clara. There's a process with deadlines. I can't promise anything." Clara felt the heat rising in her chest. She had to take charge. "We can be more than just a town. We can be a family." Suddenly, Ethan and Lily broke through the gathered crowd, their bright eyes wide with innocence. They echoed their mother's resolve, exclaiming, "Mr. Jenkins taught us to be brave. We have to help him." A wave of emotions surged. Tears sprang to Clara's eyes as inspiration struck. This was their chance. Their voices could be heard. With renewed strength, she called for a town meeting at the diner that very evening. "Let us gather together and brainstorm ideas. We will fight for Mr. Jenkins. We will not settle for anything less." As the meeting approached, Clara worked feverishly alongside her children. The image of Mr. Jenkins sitting under the old oak tree flickered in her mind. Each time she thought of him, a fierce determination bubbled within her. But while they worked, an even more troubling thought knotted in her stomach. What if Mr. Jenkins isn't the only one facing this kind of battle? She couldn't shake the feeling that something much larger was at play, threatening not just Mr. Jenkins, but the very fabric of Maplewood itself. As the sun set on Maplewood, the day blended into night, casting shadows that loomed like the uncertainty ahead. Clara felt a chill in the air, her heart pounding as she pushed open the diner doors to see the community's faces, a sea of hope and fear blending together. What was the secret that linked them all? What other hidden struggles lingered in the corners of Maplewood? Just then, Ethan tugged at her sleeve, his eyes wide. "Mom, if we're helping Mr. Jenkins, can we help others too? Like maybe the Fosters? I overheard them arguing last night," he whispered, his words striking Clara to the core as uncertainty filled the air. Would they be able to confront the greater challenges looming in the shadows? The diner buzzed with energy that felt electric, each face illuminated by a mix of determination and concern. Clara scanned the room, searching for signs of agreement. Her heart raced as she took the podium, the wooden surface cool beneath her hands. "Thank you for coming," she began, her voice steady yet warm, resonating with the sincerity that hung in the air. "Tonight, we are not just here for Mr. Jenkins. We're here for ourselves, for our family, and for every person in Maplewood who might feel invisible or alone." Ethan's words echoed in her mind, igniting a fire within her. How many others are struggling? She posed, letting her gaze sweep across the crowd. We can't turn our backs on each other. We must become the safety net for everyone in our community. Hands shot up, voices overlapping in eager agreement. Mrs. Wilkins offered, "I heard the Fosters are facing foreclosure too. They've fallen behind on their bills because of medical expenses." Another voice chimed in, "And what about the Carters? They've lost work due to that last storm." The weight of their words settled heavily on Clara's chest. This wasn't just an isolated event. It wasn't just Mr. Jenkins. This was a crisis that pulsed through the veins of Maplewood like a dark shadow. Clara grabbed her notepad, scribbling down ideas as the crowd started brainstorming. Bake sales, yard sales, community dinners. Lily shouted, her excitement infectious. "We can have a fun run at the park." Ethan suggested eagerly, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Clara beamed at her children, their youthful hearts bursting with goodness. "Yes, every idea counts. We will gather everyone. We can raise not only money but hope. We may need to fight for our neighbors more than ever." As the meeting progressed, a quiet resolve settled across the room. It was more than just a plan, it was a movement brewing. They were finding their voices, their unity knitting together the fabric of their community. Clara felt the warmth of connection growing, igniting sparks of hope that danced in people's eyes. But in the back of her mind, doubt lurked. What if we can't raise enough? Whispered that little voice inside her. The question hung heavy, but Clara pushed it aside. That wasn't an option anymore. She had seen the strength of unity tonight. Just as the meeting began to wind down, the door swung open, sending a gust of cool air through the diner. A familiar face appeared, the Fosters, weary and drawn, their eyes wide with surprise. Did we hear correctly? Mr. Foster stepped in, his voice trembling. You're all rallying to help us? His wife, Sarah, clutched his arm, uncertain yet hopeful. Clara stepped forward, her heart swelling. Yes, we stand together. We all belong to one another. You are not alone in this. As emotions ran high, Clara watched tears of gratitude fill Sarah Foster's eyes. The moment felt like a promise, a commitment to rally around each resident, not just one. The night wore on, filled with serious discussion, laughter, and a determination that seemed to echo in every corner. Clara felt they were at the brink of something monumental, but as they prepared to leave, the realization hit her. What if we can't save everyone? The enormity of their mission loomed like a specter, and the urgency of time weighed heavily upon her. With a shaky breath, Clara looked into the faces of her community. Tomorrow, we will each pick a family and reach out. But who else is out there, unseen and struggling? That whisper of doubt floated through her mind once more, and Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger battle to come. As she walked home that night, her heart raced, wrestling with hope and uncertainty. What would tomorrow bring? How far would they really go to protect what they loved? The shadows of Maplewood stretched long under the moonlight, leaving Clara to wonder, who among them would they find in need tomorrow? The sun peeked through the curtains the next morning, casting a warm glow around Clara's kitchen. The smell of coffee filled the air as she stood at the counter, her mind racing through all the plans made the night before. She poured herself a cup and gazed out the window. Maplewood looked peaceful under the morning light, but she knew the calm was just a facade hiding the struggles many faced. Her children burst into the kitchen, full of energy. Ethan, still in his pajamas, was practically bouncing. Mom, can we have pancakes? Lots of them. We need to be strong for today. Lily nodded enthusiastically. They were ready to tackle the day ahead, but Clara felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Of course, but we need to focus, too. She flipped pancakes onto the plates while trying to map out strategies in her head. Who should they reach out to first? A ribbon of excitement mixed with anxiety bubbled in her chest. As she finished serving breakfast, Clara brought out her list from last night, glancing at it again. The names of families scrawled on the paper blurred together, but each one represented a life, a story she wanted to connect with. After breakfast, the family put on their jackets and ventured out into the chilly morning air. The sounds of rustling leaves and the distant laughter of children playing filled the streets. Clara kept a brisk pace, her heart pounding with determination. She turned to her kids. All right, we're starting with the Fosters. Their needs are urgent, and I want to show them they have support. They deserve to know we're all in this together. They made their way to the Fosters' house, the weight of what they were about to do resting heavily on Clara's heart. As they approached the door, she could see Mr. Foster tending to the small garden in their front yard. He looked up, surprise washing over his face when he saw Clara and the kids. Hey there, he called, wiping his hands on his jeans. What a surprise. We weren't expecting visitors this early. Clara stepped forward, her resolve building. We wanted to check in on you. We're here to help, whatever you need. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as she stepped out of the house. The day's stress etched on her features. You really don't have to, Clara. We're managing. But Clara knew better. No, you're not. It's okay to accept help. No one should carry this burden alone. She could feel the hum of understanding between them, the unspoken truth that everyone in town needed support. As Clara shared the ideas from the meeting, bake sales, community dinners, everything they brainstormed, the tension in the air began to lift. We're not just raising money. We want you to know that we're here for you emotionally, too. Look at the kids. Look at the energy we have. We're going to fight for you. Ethan chimed in. We're going to sell cookies, lots of cookies. Lily added, and I can help organize games. That will be fun. Seeing the glimmer of hope begin to shine in Sarah's eyes, Clara felt a swell of pride. This was the heart of community. It was love wrapped around vulnerability. Just then, Mr. Foster stepped forward, shaking his head in disbelief. This means the world to us. We never thought we could count on so many people. As they left, the Fosters' faces shining brighter than when they arrived, Clara felt a sense of urgency echo within her. They had taken one step, but how many more were waiting for the hand of support to reach them? Back home, while her kids ran off to play, Clara sat on the porch, hoping for guidance. With a trembling breath, she picked up her phone and dialed another family's number one she feared might be slipping into the shadows. "Hello?" came a voice, hesitant yet familiar. As Clara spoke, she could barely contain her own rising emotions. "I just wanted to check in on you. Let us talk," but as the call stretched on, a shiver of doubt crept back in. Were they really prepared for the enormity of this challenge? Tomorrow would demand even more from them, but there was no turning back now. What awaited them in the next call? What struggles would they uncover next? Clara's heart raced as she ended the call, swallowing the lump in her throat. She glanced around the porch, where the sun was starting to dip below the trees, casting long shadows across the yard. She couldn't shake off the feeling that the weight of the world was pressing down on her. What if reaching out only opened wounds? What if they didn't want to talk? Her thoughts were interrupted by Ethan and Lily, who burst through the front door, each wielding a collection of colorful chalk. They giggled as they sprawled across the driveway, creating swirling patterns and cheerfully shouting ideas about games for the bake sale. Their laughter rang out like music, cutting through Clara's uncertainty. "Look, Mom, a giant flower," Ethan exclaimed, beaming as he pointed to his masterpiece. Clara felt a smile tug at the corners of her mouth. The innocence of their joy was a reminder of why she was doing this. It wasn't just for the Fosters or the others struggling. It was for their future. As dusk settled in, she grabbed her own chalk and joined them. Together, they created a mural of colors that told the story of hope and unity, a visual promise that no one in Maplewood would face their battles alone. Once they finished, Clara gathered them for a brief break. "Okay, team, listen up," she said, her voice steady. "I want you both to think about the other families we've visited. Do you remember how happy the Fosters were when we showed up? We can do that for others, too." Lily nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Can we make cards for them? Like little cheer-up notes?" "Absolutely. And we can include some of our cookies," Clara added, her heart warming at the thought. They began brainstorming messages, simple, heartfelt phrases like, "You are strong," and "We believe in you." Just then, Clara's phone buzzed again, cutting into their bubble of creativity. The screen lit up with a name she hadn't expected to see. It was Mrs. Smith from down the block, an elder woman who had always been friendly but distant, keeping to herself since her husband passed away last year. Clara hesitated before answering, her heart thumping louder in her chest. "Clara." The voice crackled through the receiver, a mixture of urgency and sadness. "I've been meaning to call. I heard about the meeting last night. I wanted to see if maybe I could join in." Clara's eyes widened. "Of course, Mrs. Smith. We would love to have you. We need more voices like yours. I just don't know if I can contribute much. I'm not as strong as I used to be," Mrs. Smith murmured. Clara felt her resolve strengthen. "Strength isn't about how much you can do alone. It's about joining together, lifting each other up. We can all be strong together." There was a pause, a moment of silence filled with unspoken emotion. "Thank you, Clara. I think I would like that." They ended the call with plans for Mrs. Smith to join them for tea and a chat the following day. Clara hung up feeling a rush of hope. It was encouraging to know she could offer support in return, to show someone who had been feeling solitary that community still existed. "Hey, kiddos," she called to her children, who were still sprawled out on the driveway. "We might have another partner for our plan." "What? Who?" Ethan asked, excitement bubbling in his voice. "Mrs. Smith," Clara declared. Lily clapped her hands. "That's great. I bet she has awesome stories." As Clara watched their enthusiasm, her heart lightened. This was a real connection, another thread in the tapestry of their community that was slowly being woven together. With renewed energy, they continued working on their colorful mural. As night fell and stars blinked to life, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. The fears that had haunted her slowly began to fade, replaced by the notion that together, They could break through any darkness. But just as they were about to call it a night, Clara received yet another message, this time from the high school principal. Words jumped off the screen that sent her stomach churning. "We need to discuss recent events. Families are struggling more than you know." What other stories were hidden behind those closed doors? And was she ready to navigate the depths of this challenge? Clara stared at the message, her heart thudding harder with each word she read. The urgency in the principal's note hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. The thought of families struggling, hidden behind the facades of normalcy, gripped her with a newfound intensity. What more could she uncover? "Mom, you okay?" Ethan's voice pulled her back. His innocent gaze held a mixture of concern and curiosity. "Just a lot on my mind," Clara replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She needed to understand, to find out what was truly going on. But how? "Can we finish our picture?" Lily piped up, her small hands covered in chalk, eager to dive back into their colorful creation. "Of course," Clara said, rallying herself with her children's bright energy. They started layering vivid swirls and lines, each stroke echoing a sense of unity and strength. Later that night, after tucking the kids into bed, Clara sat alone at the dining table, the remnants of the day scattered around her like fallen leaves. The bag of stickers, colorful markers, and stacks of cardstock were reminders of the mission she had embraced. But could her small efforts make a difference in the face of deeper struggles? The clock ticked steadily in the silence. She picked up her phone, hesitating before deciding to text the principal back. "I'm ready to help. Let us meet and talk." As her fingers hovered over the screen, thoughts raced back to the Fosters and Mrs. Smith. They weren't just isolated cases. They represented a larger story of despair and resilience. What if their small gesture of cheer turned into something more significant? Just before she hit send, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a photo from a friend showing families enjoying the warmth of a community picnic from last summer. The smiles, the laughter, the feeling of togetherness. It hit her hard, a pang of longing mixed with determination. Clara took a deep breath and sent her response. The next day, she would face whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever hidden truths needed to be uncovered. She stared out the window, the moonlight casting soft shadows over the yard, and thought of the steps they had to take. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window as Clara brewed coffee. Ethan and Lily bounded into the room, full of high spirits and plans for the day. "Are we going to paint more cards for the others?" Ethan asked, bouncing on his toes. "Yes, and I have an idea." Clara shared her thoughts about possibly inviting families from the neighborhood to discuss how they could unite their efforts. More voices, more stories, together. Ethan's eyes sparkled. "Like a super team." "That's right. A super team for our community." She laughed, buoyed by their excitement. As they prepared their supplies, she felt a growing sense of anticipation. Just then, the doorbell rang, startling them. Clara exchanged puzzled glances with the kids before heading to the door, her heart dipping as she wondered who it could be. When she opened the door, Mrs. Smith stood there, a hesitant smile on her face, holding a plate of freshly baked cookies. "I thought I'd bring something to share for our chat, Mrs. Smith." "Perfect timing." Clara smiled, feeling her spirits lift as she ushered her in. The warm aroma filled the air, mirroring the nurturing environment she was striving to build. But just as they started settling in, a commotion erupted from down the street. Cars were honking, voices shouted angrily, and that sense of calm shattered into tension. Clara glanced at Mrs. Smith, dread pooling in her stomach. "What is happening?" Clara whispered, her heart racing as she approached the window. Outside, a small crowd had gathered, their faces etched with worry. Someone was holding a sign. It was the principal, and she seemed to be asking for immediate help. Whatever was happening was serious. Clara turned to Mrs. Smith, who wore an expression of shared concern. "What do you think is going on?" Clara asked. "I think it might be time for us to step up," Mrs. Smith replied quietly, determination flashing in her eyes. Clara nodded slowly, feeling the weight of their journey ahead. Were they prepared for the next round in the struggle for their community? Would they ever truly understand the depths of what lay beneath the surface? There was only one way to find out. Clara's heart raced as she stepped away from the window. The urgency outside echoed within her, making her pulse quicken. "We need to go out there," she said, her voice trembling slightly as she turned back to Mrs. Smith. "Are you sure?" Mrs. Smith asked, concern etched across her face. "What if it's dangerous?" Clara took a deep breath, the warmth of community flowing through her veins. "If people are in distress, then we can't stay here." She could feel her children's bright energy calling her forward, pushing her to act. "Let us find out what is happening." Mrs. Smith nodded, determination settling into her features. "All right, let us go." Clara opened the door, the bustling sounds of chaos mingling with the sweet scent of cookies still lingering in the air. The moment they stepped outside, a wave of tension enveloped her. Parents were murmuring, eyes darting toward the principal, who stood with urgency, trying to speak over the clamor. Clara spotted the sign being held high. It read, "Help save our school." "What is going on?" she asked a neighbor standing nearby, his brow knitted with worry. "They're trying to prevent cuts to funding," he replied, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "The principal is telling us we need to rally to support the arts programs. Our kids' futures are at stake." Ethan's small hand slipped into Clara's, squeezing tightly. Clara looked down at him, feeling a rush of responsibility. "We can help, right, Mom?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "Absolutely," she said, her heart swelling with love and pride. Clara's instinct kicked in. They needed to lend their voices to this cause, to stand up not only for the school, but for all the families like the Fosters and Mrs. Smith. "Ethan, Lily, let us make some more signs. We can join this," she declared, igniting a flicker of hope within her. "Can we make them colorful?" Lily chimed in, eyes sparkling with newfound purpose. "Of course. Let us show them our support," Clara replied, energized by her children's enthusiasm. They dashed back inside, adrenaline pumping as they gathered supplies, markers, poster boards, and all the bright colors they could find. As they raced through the house, laughter broke through the tension. Clara felt the weight of their mission transforming into something lighter. They were creating, spreading joy while standing for something important. Minutes later, they burst out with their homemade signs, the words bold and filled with the vibrancy of their hearts. Clara held Save Our Arts, while the kids proudly displayed their colorful creations. They joined the crowd, a wave of warmth and passion engulfing them. Suddenly, Clara noticed Mrs. Smith stepping forward to speak, her voice rising above the din. "We must fight for our children's education. These programs inspire our kids to dream." Clara felt the words crashing over her like a high tide, lifting her spirits. The crowd started to cheer, voices rising in support. Clara glanced at her children, who beamed with pride. This was their super team moment. Children, parents, and neighbors came together, joining hands to create a tapestry of hope and resilience. But just as Clara began to feel a sense of victory, she noticed a figure walking toward the principal, a stern expression on his face. The man seemed out of place, clad in a suit that contrasted the neighborhood's worn charm. As he approached, a hush fell over the crowd. "Is he here to oppose us?" Clara whispered to Mrs. Smith, her heart racing again. Before Mrs. Smith could respond, the man raised his hand, silencing the murmurs. Clara's stomach tightened. Was this the moment they had all been waiting for, or the moment their hope crumbled? "Let us listen," Mrs. Smith urged softly, a mix of dread and anticipation etched on her features. Clara held her breath, ready for whatever news would follow. Would it bring their dreams to fruition, or unleash a darkness they weren't prepared for? The man cleared his throat, and the tension in the air thickened. Clara's heart pounded even louder now. She could see the glint of his tie, the stern lines of his face accentuated by the light reflecting off his polished shoes. He appeared like a storm cloud rolling into their sunny day. "We're here to discuss the future of the arts programs at our school," he began, his tone authoritative yet tempered with a hint of something softer. Some parents shifted uneasily, whispering among themselves. Clara felt her stomach churn. Every fiber in her body was screaming for him to lift them up, not crush their spirits. "I understand the great value these programs hold for our children," he continued. "Art fosters creativity and builds resilience." But his voice wavered slightly, and for just a moment, Clara dared to hope. "But funding is tight, and without community support, we risk losing them altogether." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Clara glanced at Ethan and Lily. They were clutching their signs tightly, eyes wide, waiting for direction. Mrs. Smith reached out, squeezing Clara's arm as if she was searching for reassurance. "What does that mean?" Clara called out, her voice louder than she intended. "What do we need to do?" The man cleared his throat again. "I propose a community event, a fundraiser to rally support and raise awareness. If we show everyone how vital these programs are, we can turn this situation around." A hesitant murmur spread through the crowd, confusion hanging in the air. Clara felt a wave of determination surge within her. "What kind of event?" she called out, her hopes igniting her voice. "A talent show, an art auction. We'll invite students, parents, and community members to showcase their talents. The more people we involve, the more we can raise," he explained, now visibly more animated. Clara remembered the laughter and vibrancy she felt just moments ago while making those signs. "We can do that," she shouted, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and fear. "We can get everyone involved. I can help organize it." A smile broke across her face, and she felt an electric charge in the air. The crowd began to nod, murmurs of agreement swelling. Ethan and Lily jumped up and down, their earlier worries fading. "Can we sing too, Mom?" Lily asked, eyes sparkling. "Of course we can." Clara beamed at her. She could see the spark of hope igniting among the crowd. People were exchanging glances, smiles emerging like flowers breaking through the snow. As more parents stepped forward, raising their hands to volunteer. Clara felt warmth wash over her, a sense of community strength she'd never experienced before. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. She was part of something greater, a shared mission to protect their children's future. Gradually, the tension diffused, and excitement began to pulse through the air. Clara looked at the man in the suit, who seemed to soften as enthusiasm filled the space around them. "If we all band together, we can make this work," he affirmed, more confident than before. Just then, as discussions buzzed around her, Clara felt an unusual chill pass over the crowd. The warmth of hope, however, held tightly to her heart, but a shadow loomed once again as she noticed a group of individuals at the edge of the gathering. Their expressions were serious, and Clara felt unease creep back. "Who are they?" Ethan whispered, squeezing his mother's hand tighter as he began to sense the shift. Clara turned her gaze back to the speaker, who had completely diverted his attention. She could sense something wasn't right. "Let us keep this momentum going," she shouted, fighting against the growing weight in her chest. "Together, we can save our school." But what if? Anxiety gripped her back. What was looming on the horizon? Would it help or hurt their cause? Clara felt a mix of hope and dread. The next few hours could make or break everything they fought for. What if they couldn't keep the spirit alive? Turning back to the group, she was determined to find out what was coming next. She needed to act, to prepare, before the shadow could engulf their light. "What is our next move?" Clara asked Mrs. Smith. The answer could mean everything. Clara's question hung in the air like a heavy fog, thick and oppressive. Mrs. Smith looked around, her eyes scanning the crowd, searching for a spark of confidence. "We need to assemble a planning committee," she finally said, her voice steadying as she continued, "and we need ideas. What can we do to make this event unforgettable?" The crowd buzzed again, voices rising in a chorus of suggestions. Volunteers stepped forward, eager to take charge. Someone offered to handle the ticket sales, another spoke up about decorations, and a few parents enthusiastically suggested involving local businesses to contribute prizes for the auction. They tossed around ideas. Clara felt adrenaline course through her veins. There was an air of thrill mingled with anxiety, as if they were standing on the brink of a great adventure. But the shadow behind her weighed constantly on her mind. "Let us not forget promotion," Clara yelled, trying to rally the group. "We need a social media campaign, flyers, maybe even a video, something that grabs attention. We want everyone to know how important the arts are. We could have kids create art for the flyers." Ethan piped up, "Like a contest. Whoever makes the best one gets a prize. And the winner could perform at the talent show." Lily added excitedly, her small hands waving as if she were already on stage. Clara's heart swelled at their enthusiasm. "That's it," Clara encouraged. "We need the kids involved at every level. This is their future, after all. It'll be about them, showing what they can do." The atmosphere in the gathering began to shift. Parents exchanged confused, hopeful glances, as if sensing a possibility they hadn't seen before. Clara felt the current of excitement rippling through them, a tide of collective will pushing them forward. Suddenly, Clara's gaze drifted back to the small group she had noticed earlier. The serious faces were still lingering at a distance. A couple of them seemed to be observing intently, whispering amongst themselves. Clara's stomach twisted, an unease settled over her again. What were they planning? Who were those people? She murmured to Mrs. Smith. But Mrs. Smith didn't seem to know, focusing instead on the growing energy of the crowd. A rash thought sparked in Clara's mind. What if they were against the fundraiser? What if they intended to sabotage it? The urgency in her gut churned anew. I think we need to keep a close watch on them, Clara whispered. She felt the need to protect the momentum building around her, as if it were a fragile flame that could flicker out with one gust of wind. Just focus on what we can control, Mrs. Smith advised, placing a reassuring hand on Clara's arm. Sensing the worry etched on her face as they moved towards finalizing the event details, Clara became the conductor of a symphony of creativity, a program that could change everything. She energized the crowd, and slowly, the details started to take form. All right, folks, let us brainstorm entertainment. Who can perform in this talent show? She clapped her hands together, and one by one, hands shot up, her friends and community igniting the room with their excitement. Little did they know that while they were building hopes and dreams, shadows lurked beyond, brewing challenges they had yet to face. Clara felt a tightening in her chest as the thought resonated. Would the support they gathered be enough to fend off any opposition? Just as the first bright ideas flowed freely, a distant conversation caught Clara's ear. One of those serious individuals had stepped forward, striding toward the gathering. She felt her heartbeat echo in her ears. His expression was unreadable, and the crowd quieted, uncertainty filling the space. What does he want? She thought anxiously, the hope they had built now teetering on the edge of that shadowy vortex. And Clara braced herself for whatever was to come next. Could they stand together, united and unbroken, when faced with the unknown? The moment of truth felt dangerously close. A hushed anticipation cloaked the gathered townsfolk as the man stepped forward, the air thick with uncertainty. Clara's heart raced as she studied his demeanor, hoping for reassurance, but fearing confrontation. He cleared his throat, drawing every eye toward him. Listen, everyone, he began, his voice low yet commanding. I've been observing what you're trying to do. I'm here to state facts that won't change just because you wish. The funding crisis is real, and while I admire your spirit, I'm afraid an event will not solve the deeper issues at hand. Clara felt a jolt of defiance surge through her. We can't let fear dictate our future. This is our school, our children's lives at stake. A few members of the crowd murmured their support, but worry flickered across many faces. It's not about wishing, he replied, his tone shifting to one of challenge. It's about practicality. We're in a budget crisis, and it affects more than just the arts, it's the entire school curriculum. You need to be ready to make hard decisions. A wave of murmurs spread through the audience, fueled by uncertainty. Clara felt the warmth of hope dim, but she wouldn't let it extinguish. We can tackle this together, she shouted, gathering courage as she inspired her children's faces appeared in her mind, their innocence unwavering against the grinding machine of bureaucracy. We won't back down. The man fixed his gaze on her, studying her resolve, and Clara was struck by the hint of admiration in his eyes. This isn't just a test of enthusiasm, ma'am. It's about understanding the realities. If you really want to fight for your school, you might just have to align with the very people you're opposing. Opposing? We're not opposing. We're standing together. Clara found her voice rising again, emboldened by the sight of her neighbors rallying behind her. You can count on community spirit. It can create miracles that no budget can overshadow. The crowd began to chant, together, together. Clara felt the heat of their voices rising like steam, boiling over the cool skepticism lingering in the air. The newfound energy pulsed through her, igniting a flicker of hope, even against the backdrop of opposition. Fine, but know this, the man replied, raising his hands in a measured tone. You will need to convince the decision-makers. Settle on a plan that demonstrates support for every aspect of the school, not just arts. If your fundraising project fails to encompass every need, the consequences will be dire. Clara nodded. Finally, A glimmer of clarity emerged within her heart, a determination as fresh as dawn. We can do this. We'll make it about the whole community. We'll come together as families, businesses, and students, all hands aboard. The crowd's energy surged as they chattered over the possibilities of expanding their vision. We can include performances from students, create an auction of various talents, even a fun run that brings awareness. One father shouted, and the group nodded along eagerly, spirits restoring. Clara glanced over at Mrs. Smith, who was nodding with approval. "You've sparked creativity and unity," Mrs. Smith said. "Shining a light on talent throughout Maplewood, it's what we need." "Exactly," Clara shouted, her passion resonating and catching fire within the group. "Let us create a festival where all talents can shine, showcasing our kids, our businesses, our artisans. This is for everyone." She turned to her children, whose eyes sparkled with excitement. "Can I sing?" Lily asked enthusiastically, bouncing on her toes. "Of course. We'll have a stage where everyone can shine bright," Clara said with warmth. "Every voice matters. The strength of our community will be displayed at this festival, able to illustrate everything that's great about Maplewood. 4 days a long weekend, let us plan and execute," Ethan added, his youthful exuberance infectious. Each parent's face brightened with newfound hope as they shared eyes filled with determination and laughter. "What if we reach out to the whole town?" Someone called out. "Posters, door-to-door flyers, even a little neighborhood parade to rally support." "Yes," Clara exclaimed, her heart bursting with pride at the spirit of the community rallying together. The air carried the palpable energy of change, but just as she soaked in the joyous momentum, she could still sense shadows lurking beyond. "We also need to be aware of those who oppose us. They may not stand idly by," she reminded them, her tone shifting back toward caution. "Let us make sure we channel all energies positively. We must engage everyone. Show them how united we become," Clara urged, knowing they couldn't dismiss the challenges that lay still ahead. The crowd erupted in enthusiastic agreement. As Clara stood smiling at her children, her heart swelled with love and gratitude. They were on the brink of something that could genuinely transform Maplewood. As days unfolded into a blur of preparation, volunteers came, brought spirit and laughter. Each moment growing with commitments expressed in colored chalk doodles across poster boards, maps of unity, messages of hope that came alive under the sun. As the community festival drew nearer, Clara's heart raced. They were not just saving a school, they were nourishing a family rooted in fighting spirit and resilience. She felt stronger than she ever had, and the neighbors rallied together, weaving connections that spanned generations. When the festival day arrived, the streets transformed into a vibrant exhibit of talent. The music, laughter, and love overflowed. Clara watched her children sing, their voices blending with many more joined together in joyous celebration. The crowd cheered, energized by connection, as smiles spread across every face. In that moment, Clara realized they had become more than just a collective of neighbors. They had become a part of a greater heartbeat echoing through Maplewood. United in their desire to lift one another up, the festival yielded funds that would not only bring life back to the arts program, but also foster new relationships, inspire cooperation, and build understanding between families who had long lived seeing only their own struggles. The brightest truths emerged, casting light over the shadows. As Clara stood among the excitement, tears of joy glimmered in her eyes. She felt a shift, knowing they had forged an invincible bond, a stronger family through every adversity faced together. Clara's heart was full, radiant, as she stepped into the embrace of her children, feeling the unbreakable spirit of their community envelop them. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, Maplewood glowed, a tapestry woven with tales of resilience and love. It was clear they had all transformed into something beautiful and enduring, a beacon of hope illuminated forevermore. Now, hold on. This is the moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss more inspiring stories that lift our spirits and unite our hearts. Hit that bell for all notifications. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial for our family to keep thriving. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the love. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this beautiful ending. I can't wait to hear what this story means to you.